Bam! I just seen it click on.
Oh
It
man,
did that.
that's a new addition.
What the way it did it?
Yeah, we're live to the people, and it tells us we're live to the people.
What's up, people? Welcome to the Dream Show Live. Stephen Aiken, the Dream, and many other names depending on where you're at, what time of the day it is. Isaac Stackhouse, also
The
many AKA.
Wandering Grappler.
Is that what we're doing? Is the Wondering Grappler? Is it the Daily
I
Stack?
guess I
Is,
started the
is the,
Wandering Grappler thing. Okay, the Daily Stack was a show that was my podcast for
that was
a
the
couple of
first
years.
thing,
That was the
or
first thing.
a first thing.
The first thing was the daily vlog because I did the thing where like I had been into film and was like trying to figure out how to even like pay attention to it or dabble in it, and then everybody got hit with Casey Neistat, and I was like, just do it every day. Some of those are still on the channel. I was learning. I'm sorry.
Sorry for learning, man.
But
Is what it
yeah,
is.
the daily stack was the like daily vlog thing, and now that's the channel that is the YouTube channel and like our media where like we're kind of compiling things and starting to become that. And then the Wandering Grappler was supposed to be we all can be the Wandering Grappler. You're the Wandering Grappler. We can all wander at some point in our life, correct?
Wander,
So, right, wander.
not wonder.
Both can happen. You can wonder why you wander. But anyways,
That's
that
fair.
was it was supposed to be like a general brand, and then like everybody, as I started walking into places, and everybody was like, "Oh, the Wandering Grappler."
Makes
So
sense.
yeah, I guess the internet deemed me the Wandering Grappler. So
You're
yeah,
worthy.
hola, buenos dias.
So yeah, thanks everybody who tunes in, has tuned in, will tune in, watch this at some other point. Man, we appreciate it. Make sure you guys are liking the videos, subscribing to the channels, all those things that you know you're supposed to do for your folks that you like on social media stuff. So it really comes in handy when you try to make a dollar or two to have more of those things. So if you feel led, so to say, you give your boy a old thumbs up down there on some of them things, and
The likes, the subscribes,
it's important. It's important,
that
and that's
it
what they
it
want.
keeps the little engine running.
Yeah, and it's a little like thing. You like to see that yourself too, right? You see numbers going up and seeing things. It's kind of a little bit of a signal for some success in a way. Um, it's increment, like you said, it's incremental. Everything starts at wherever you started, and I mean, nobody came out just perfect or with the right first idea or whatever it was. Everybody had to grow and has that ugly haircut phase where it's growing back out or whatever.
Well, I tell you what, I went through I don't know how many hours of footage that is going to see the light of day because I spent that much time on it. But in preparation for the draft that just happened last week with the PGF, I had to go through our entire athlete list and find footage that not only could we use because there's certain organizations that lock their stuff up and you can't use their stuff to showcase athletes, but also find things that made them look good because we're trying to help the homies. We're trying to like prop them up and be like, yo, check this guy out. He's on the PGF. So I'm not going to show him getting armbarred.
Mm.
Well, yo, when you go through these high level guys, like not their highlight reels, just what's out there, guess how guys got good? They ran it a lot.
Yeah, you had to do it.
Yeah. So you run back 10 years on somebody's highlight reel. Let me know how you feel, cuz it's like looking back on things sometimes we go, "Oh man." But it's like that's the learning curve. You got to see, and like as you watched along, some of them it happened accidentally, like chronologically, cuz I was just like scrolling through YouTube, is that like you would see, "Oh, he got dunked on 2 years ago." And then you're like, "Oh, he figured it out. He fixed the little problem that happened."
And there's another one.
Yeah. It's just we've talked about this on the show about like overnight success. That it's not overnight.
Yeah, and even if you're really really good, not many people stay undefeated or don't lose periodically, at least some
Yeah.
times, unless you only do certain matches and you've really got a specific thing that you're doing and give yourself always the perfect kind of environment for winning or don't compete, then I guess maybe those guys you see carry a longer winning streak more often.
Yeah.
It's still really really rare to not lose a match. That's why people love Gordon Ryan's game so much. Is because it's just been a
Don't lose.
run. It's
Yeah.
just been a run where he's been
Yeah.
untouchable, and so
Yeah.
you can't really say that about hardly anyone else like that. So
Do you think that that's? I mean, he's competed in most of all the rule sets. So you can't necessarily like he's knocked down the argument of whether or not it's been because of the rule set. Is it opponent selection at this point? Do you think that? I mean, I'm not really trying to set you up for like a hard answer, but I am.
no, I just don't know either. To be honest, if it, I think he's beaten all the better guys at that
Yeah.
weight class or around the weight class or whatever, and it seemed to be outside of the Nikki Rod match or so pretty handily,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whether you like him as a talking head individual, like if you like his philosophies on things that or what or not, that's separated from the fact that he's really 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 dominant every time he gets on the mat, pretty much.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think it's a combination of things, from just being probably completely obsessed and fanatical about doing the thing, and then
Yeah.
also being attached to some of the better coaches in the game ever for a substantial period of time, and having access to a lot of different guys like that at a young
Mm-hmm.
age for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
gave him a pretty broad horizon to even look for.
He knows what the
So
game looks like.
yeah, and at a really high level from a really, deep perspective from a lot of different people. Like I said, he was with Tonin first, and then now he's with Donna for the last several years, and has had like Tom DeBlass and those guys, and anyone associated with Henzo's things, along the way. I'm sure has had something. And anyone since then would talk, talk shop with him. I'm sure if he wanted to sit down and talk to him, because he's been that dude for a while now. It seems like I can't remember
Right.
he's lost or whatever. He's had some performances in some time ago that weren't that great, but when he like came out and did that EBI where he stepped in and was like a late replacement, I feel like whichever one, I can't remember the specific one. I feel like since then he's just been like out front, and people have not been able to catch up to him since then. So
Yeah.
it's a combination of a lot of things. He sacrificed his body for sure to get to where he's at, and that's that's what it takes, at least on a base level. And then, like I say, the coaching obviously has been top
Yeah.
notch for him.
Well, and I mean, but what professional athlete doesn't sacrifice their body?
No, that's like the
You know,
entry fee
like
essentially.
there is going to be a sacrifice to this to
Something,
some
yeah.
extent.
You're gonna
Yeah.
it's gonna take his pound of flesh for sure, no matter what. I think everything does that, whether you're sitting at a desk all day or driving all day or doing, digging a hole with a shovel all day or digging a hole with a backhoe all day, whatever. It's like it still takes its toll, right? So I think it's different. Obviously, being an athlete in some ways, because it's the performances seem much less like often. So everything's a lot more heightened in that way versus like your everyday kind of job thing. But it's still like a repetitive deal because you got to be getting it on like all the
Right.
time. So
So
stuff.
enough about Gordon Ryan. What
Yeah.
about last week? You were the
What day was that?
you're now wider than the mouth of the South, sir. You have now.
Isn't that what they call Matt Elkins, the mouth of the South?
Oh, is he the mouth of the South? I
I
thought.
think that's what they say on the rounds. And
Oh, okay.
I like the
I mean,
name. as far as that, it's a good one.
That makes sense. It's got a
It's a
good
good.
ring.
Yeah, there's Jimmy Hart. One of the great professional wrestling managers of all time.
Okay.
So it's a thing. It's a good one. I liked it when I heard it for him. It's not wrong either. But it's definitely
Well, as I was saying,
sorry,
you're
sorry.
broader than the mouth of the South because we made it out there to Las Vegas to a secret location.
Yeah, a place that came up actually like in a trivia question last night for the
Oh,
fans
really?
at trivia night. I thought that was really crazy. I didn't get it right because I didn't know the answer. But after it came out, I was like, "Oh, I was at
Oh
that
yeah,
place.
I was
That's
there.
literally where I was the other day." And I can't tell nobody though.
It
It's a
was
secret.
secret. So
But it was awesome.
yeah, what was when you entered? Because I've produced a good bit now at this point in a lot of these shows, and I mean, bro, the amount of times I've had people be like, "Yo, you gotta see the next place that we're at." And like we go to the venue and all that, and I go to the venue, and every time I'm just like, yeah, it's cool. And then you look at them, you're like, how much did it cost? And then they tell you, and you're like, that was your whole budget. And it's like,
Yeah,
so the cool places always almost so. We had a
takes what
fortunate
it takes.
we had fortunate hookups and things that happened to put us in this cool location, and I had the same pitch thrown at me that I've heard a million times of like, this is gonna be dope. And I was like, all right. Because it's gonna be a feat to pull it off where we're pulling it off. Like
Hmm.
it's not like you're just like, hey, yo, this place that's like set up to do this thing that's like a broadcast studio where you like have all these things and all this plug, like you got all that. It's like, no. We want you to do this in a dungeon. And you're like, what? Is there power? And they're like, nah, bring
Still
batteries.
6 feet of concrete all the
So
way up.
so
Oh
when
wow.
I stepped off the elevator and walked out, for one, the elevator ride was scary.
The
I don't
first
know
time I didn't
about.
even realize what happened.
Yeah, you were just like, whoa, where am I?
Like I just got on the elevator and then we were in a room or whatever at
Yeah,
the place, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay, this is like the third floor or something.
You're like,
Because I
whoa,
was just
where?
conversating with like Keelan and them when I got there. Like I
Yeah,
kind of ran into them in the area of the place downstairs and
right.
didn't know where I was going. So thankfully, I just kind of attached myself to the
That's the move.
trail of employees.
That's the move if you're trying to get anywhere important. But so I stepped off the elevator. And when I stepped off, like I immediately got it. I was like, okay, I get it. I see it. I'm seeing the vision. So it was like sight unseen. I wasn't sure. When we got there, I was like, this is a vibe. This is cool. We got done setting it up, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like it was pretty cool. And have you rewatched the broadcast?
Not all of it. I did go back and
But
watch
you've
a
seen
clip.
clips and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like it looked dope. It was pretty cool.
yeah. It
And then
was.
the draft itself, you probably remember more about what was happening on the draft itself because I had my own fires that I was putting out all day.
Mm, yeah, I guess. Like specifically, I can remember some stuff. Like, I know what happened, but there was a lot going on through the process, and yeah, the setting up of stuff in a place like that is a little bit logistically
Yeah.
hard to get everything there because everything is not always everything at the same place. If everything at one place is not everything for the other place because the other place doesn't have some of these very common things maybe that you would have just at other places. And so
It's
then,
as
oh
simple
shoot,
as
we need these
power.
very simple pieces of equipment that aren't here now, and they just really the whole show is riding on this like $10 piece of equipment or something that's not
A
there.
power
It's
cord.
not,
A
yeah,
power cord.
it's not some big like huge thing. Usually, it's like there's one like small thing that might have not been accounted for because you couldn't necessarily account for it without
Yeah.
going in there and getting the information while you're setting it up.
Yeah.
Or maybe
That's
other people know more about that stuff and whatever. But it seems like that's pretty standard for going to new locations because like I say, everything's different. The power setups, the Wi-Fi setups, or
Oh,
whatever's going
major
on.
productions have scouting, like pre-scouting things that they go do to like find all that stuff.
Yeah.
What we've in our experience gotten good at, and here's a little plug for Subconscious Studios and Wandering Productions, is that 98% of the time we have an entire show in each one of our backpacks. And what we got good at is that we can show up to any show. We can all dump our backpacks out in the middle, and between everybody, we're able to have the cords, the batteries, the things to plug in to produce something that is high quality and like watchable, like content. And I feel like that the idea that we can produce what TV grade was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago out of our backpacks is wild to me. So, yeah, hire me and my friend Keelan if you need live streaming assistance. Plug.
Do it. The best in the biz. They can do it everywhere, anywhere, and maybe in less than an hour.
Okay, that
Maybe.
that
Maybe.
hard maybe. It
Maybe.
all right. No. We did. Do
Right.
we
That's what
like
I said.
to?
Not always. Maybe not always could or will, but did in an hour or so get this thing from a secret location to
A broadcast studio.
live broadcast show with rooms that had interview rooms off on the other side with other stuff set up and visual cues, and it's basically like a Raph was like an air flight controller or whatever, with those orange like things. And I was just watching him run back and forth and throw hand signs, and I was just like, all right, I think I know what he's saying. Go. And,
we, yeah, to talk about the behind the scenes aspect of the promotion in that sense is the fact that so that everybody knows, we were cutting and like making camera cues and those type of things with everything short of smoke signals. Like we were
hand
throwing
signs.
hand signals and moving because it was
Raph was sprinting
obstacles.
back and forth.
We adapt and overcome, and I rewatched it
Baby.
and it was a pretty, I was pretty happy with like what we're capable of. Like it's pretty astounding to me, like I said in the beginning of the show where we're talking about like looking back on what like PGF 1, 2, 3, and then like it just continually like goes up. And like you said, I can look back and see when like, oh, that's when we figured out not to use that camera for that, or it's like, oh, I remember when that cord went bad.
Yep. I
So
tell you, the thing that was good for me in that was like Jason Anik being
yeah,
like a newer part of that whole part of the process like that or whatever. Uh, he's like hype,
yeah, yeah,
he's
he's
got a
excited.
he's got a big energy,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
like that because most of us are pretty chill. You guys are doing y'all's thing, and y'all are not necessarily like not intense about it or whatever, but you're just kind of quietly focused and doing your thing, or only
yeah,
got headphones on talking to each other or whatever it is like that, and you're not able to do
yeah,
it and stuff. But just like pre-show stuff, talking about it or whatever, he's into it. It's like a I don't know, the same. I feel like the same way I was. Like he had note cards and all these things. He's like, what about this and that?
yeah,
For openings, and like I've got this wrote out and that wrote out already before he got there. And
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
heck yeah, man, this is good. And for the rest of us, I still do that too a lot. But like TJ, Brandon, those guys, they have their notes, I'm sure, for the stuff they're going to be doing. But a lot of the other stuff for us is just kind of like an organic, conversational handoff to stuff or whatever, and I'm the hype guy most of the
yeah,
time, except for like
yeah,
about
yeah,
the match that's going on or whatever. They'll get hyped during the matches or whatever. But it's like he was just pumped to be there and just like
yeah.
the just really like into the thing, and it made me feel calm in a way to not be that guy by myself, so I could
To
like
have
chill
somebody
and like
that's
just
matching your
yeah
energy and
yeah.
on the
It was like,
same,
okay,
yeah,
he's stressed, not in a bad way, but just like he's like on that level that I'm normally at like 12. And so I need to not also match that because then things could get like spirally. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna chill
yeah,
and I'm gonna let everything develop. And when I know it's my turn, I'll just go and I'll just
yeah.
do whatever once it kind of starts going. And we had like a little trouble in the beginning getting on rhythm with each other, like I said, with the way it was set up and stuff. But as soon as
Yeah.
we like got through that one like spot, it was
Oh,
just like
I can explain to you
really
exactly what happened. Is that it's this is a little bit behind the sauce on like how things are done and whatnot, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So when you watch other shows and you see like they cut to a weird commercial or something, that's somebody being like, "Whoops," like, and so what happens is like as we were going and we were figuring out how to communicate through walls, um y'all have worked with us enough to know that y'all can see and y'all are like, oh no, things are going awry. How can I help? The best way an actor or a talent or somebody on camera can help me is just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. And when you deviate, I've already made changes, or the director's already made changes on the back end to where if you change, well, then now our change doesn't make sense and the changes clash. And that's what the audience sees. Is so like most of the mess ups that you notice in the room when you're on the production side and you start to like pick up on what's going on, most of those mess ups never actually make it to camera or to
mhm.
screen. I'm sorry. They make it
Yeah.
on camera, they make it onto the thing, but if the producer and the director are on their shit and they're like talking and communicating and everybody's on the same page, they you can make it not look like a mess up. It can just be a camera cut.
Yeah, and that's the thing I've learned to not worry about so much. That's what I say is like I guess being in there, I've like not been so stressed as much about that part of it because it's just like whatever happens is already it's gonna happen, and I just need
Yeah.
to keep like going and not let it mess up my thing because if that God, I don't know what would happen if that happens. Like if I get off, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I've had
No,
like some
no.
mess up days or whatever, but it's just like especially on that draft, it's all live. Like everything was ad lib
Right.
for the most part. Once we got started, I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
know the order until 20 minutes before we were supposed to kind of get started. That's when
Yeah.
I actually got the real order from the draft. So I didn't have any like thing set up in my head for it to
Right.
and I couldn't let everybody else know because
Cuz you're in charge
the coaches were
visually.
supposed to not know. I think was what they were doing. It seemed like
Yeah.
they didn't know who was coming up yet or next, and so I was trying to let the guys know when they were like the next guy
Like
without like
yeah.
telling them that they're the next guy for everybody to know or you know only with enough time that they you know couldn't have planned for this guy to be next. So there was also like a layer of that where you guys were while Alex was interviewing the person who had just got drafted, I was trying to like frantically look around the room for the person who was next to just get some eye contact to be like and then just be, you know, or like, hey, get him. And then they're like, I got him. It's like, no, him. And it's like, they wanted to be
Me.
next, right? Because the money's going off the
Me.
table.
Yeah.
Like the money's starting to get away. The more and more people get drafted, there's less that is available
It's
for you every
1
time
a.m.
to
at the
kind of
bar and
build.
it's closing.
Yeah, yeah. The lights are coming on. It's it started getting hairy out there a few times, and like
Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite interaction on the draft? Like, who was your favorite one that came up and you had the like back and forth? Because I remember a couple moments that were pretty funny.
uh hmm. I feel like there was a moment with the Dom thing,
Yeah.
and it kind of passed because he got intentionally walked, and so it kind of killed the thing. But I felt like he said something about the most viral clip, and I think I said something that was to at least to me funny, and I saw a couple people in the front laugh, and so I don't. And then he got walked, and nobody even wanted him, and I was like, well, I don't guess that was did I do that? Yeah. It's like
That was
because
a
I feel like,
whiff.
it's if I do a bad job, they're gonna get less, I gotta try to sell this also like it's my job to sell it for the athlete almost
Yeah,
entirely once they speak. You know what I mean? Once they say what they
yeah.
say. Again, I don't know what they're gonna say. And once they say what they say, I've gotta go with that. And
Off of
so
whatever
he
they give you. Yeah,
Tom's pretty soft spoken. Um, he, didn't really say much, but what he said to me was, hey, I'm really good, and people have seen me with a really viral clip, the most viral one in history for EBI, and it's like, okay, hey, this, similar to the way that someone else had just gotten a really big clip at one of the seasons coming in for throwing up or whatever it was, though, on the mat side
oh
for
yeah,
ACC or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
and so I just
yeah.
kind of used that in the same way. I didn't say what it was, but just saying like, hey, this guy's got the most popular, he's a popular internet superstar or whatever,
Yeah,
just something like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
just to
yeah.
kind of make it funny or whatever to get people going, you know.
Right.
But that was good. And so I'm thinking about it now that I'm talking, but I think it was like Rafael
Okay.
Fajeda.
Yeah,
I think him coming
yeah.
out and he before I had seen his interviews and things, and he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm, da 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 da. I'm good. I'm soft spoken, and everybody's good, and I don't know how good I am, and yada yada yada. But he got the message about what to do here, and the money was real that these guys were getting drafted for, and so if you got more money in the moment, then you just secured yourself a bigger payday just by having a better like pitch, and that's what it was. And he basically came out and man, there's a promo I wanted to do, but I didn't know exactly how to make it work in that moment once he did it. But
Right.
he did basically like I've competed against so many of these people in the room. I've beaten like seven of the guys or something like six out of the guys in the room I've submitted already or whatever. And so many of these guys I've already beaten in the PGF rule set because they were at the qualifier I was at and things like that or whatever. And so it was just I don't know. There's a very popular, I guess, amongst wrestling nerds promo called Steiner Math,
Right.
where Scott Steiner starts doing the math on like how much percentage chance somebody's got to win against him, and it's a nonsensical statistical thing or whatever. It's like trying to say that it's 1/3 and it's the same thing as a half or something. You're just trying to
Right.
you're just rambling or whatever but as a live promo guy or whatever, you just tie it together. And
Yeah.
even if it's kind of nonsensical, especially for certain characters, it works. And so he just said several things that were kind of like a seven out of the whatever guys and like six out of these or whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
he's
He was
got like
just.
a 60% chance. It's like statistically you got a 32 and it's 3-6 chance of beating this man. So it's like whatever it is like he ends up with more than 100% chance to win. Yeah. I wanted to cut into it, Wallow, but I didn't really like the way he said it. It hit me, and the tingle started tingling or whatever. But I wasn't really warm up enough yet. I think he was like the second or third guy or something, almost even. But yeah, dude, that's exactly what I was thinking about. So I think there's a way to cut up that part of the clip even, and you can run it, side by side because statistically, there's like a negative 10% chance that any of these guys are going to be able to beat Rafael across the course of the season because he's already beat six out of them in the rule set, and seven
Yeah.
of them he's already beaten total. But one
So
of them he did
seventy-two and a
not
half
submit. He got
percent.
a draw against, but got passed because it was a referee's or judge's like decision at one of the qualifiers. So that technically doesn't count as the win. It would in the PGF. It would be a draw. So then
Yeah.
his chances of from guys aren't now -10. They're more like -3.5% chance to win against him because he did have one draw with the one guy. So there's the stats. That's more for like somebody like Egghead to come up with and try to flesh out. But we all know that his
How
stuff's not
about
very
how
accurate
about we just
anyway.
get you? We just all we got to do is just say Egghead, write Steven a script, and you just read it word for word, and I'm almost promise you it'll get there. He'll give
That's
you all the
why I was wondering.
percentages, and then you just got to
I just
deliver the
read it what he
percentages. Yeah,
writes.
just but
Yeah,
read it in your voice, but his writing.
his stuff might be good then.
I didn't say it.
Oh man, no, Egghead. Yeah, his role is his role, and
Go read Egghead's blog if you want
trying
all
to,
the numbers
yeah,
and the
if
statistics behind
you want
your
to be
fantasy
precise,
picks.
he aims for precision on all that stuff, and he spends way more time than probably anybody else looking at those types of things to get the answers. And so, speaking of like looking for videos and highlights and things like that, he talks about that a lot too. Is like
Oh,
he's digging around
he's
looking for
done probably
stuff
the
like
most film work out of
he
all the.
well he has to be able to get a real statistical like analysis done. And if you don't have any video of a guy, you can't really rate him much compared to other people that you have,
You have to see it. Yeah.
28, 30 matches of, especially in the rule set. If you got guys who've already competed in the rule set a bunch, then you got that too, like a Landon Elmore. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like I like the way he brought the belt and the stuff that he was saying with his also draft thing. I think his was a good one. I think Landon's, got a bright future in that way. I wish, and again, this is just his first probably time trying to really do it like that, you know. But his promo is one that you got to kind of say it like a little more, you know. I did this. I'm the champion of this. I've won this. I've done, like more like I'm the man, not like, well, I've won this belt that I have on my shoulder now last week, and it's just like
You
he's
gotta
just more
own
of a
it.
matter. Yeah, it's like yeah,
Yeah.
you just need a little more oomph with it. But I like what he said. I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think that you got to punch it up a little bit to get
Well,
it
and
over.
he's
And
another
I
one
like
that like
bringing
when
the
I went.
belt. I think the Enigma belt was a good touch because of the
Yeah.
same way Christos spoke about how it's been PGFified with the rule set and how they've like linked the two things together. So it wasn't a random title that had nothing to do with what was going on, right? So if it was just like a Naga belt or something that was unassociated with the rule set, that would have made it hit less, in my opinion, too. So I thought it was a good deep cut to bring the Enigma belt like that, but you got to kind of puff your chest out and tell him a little bit more aggressively why you're the man. But I like
Yeah.
what he did.
Yeah, and I mean, like Landon's one of those that in the film research, like I mean, I'm finding footage of him in gi matches when he's like 12.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh,
yeah. These
okay,
guys have been doing it.
you've been playing this game for a while. Like you gotta tell people, tell them, like
They're
I know what
young.
I'm doing.
They're just
Yeah.
they're not inexperienced though. A lot of them, right? They're just
But
not
when did you?
inexperienced on an adult level, maybe more. But I wonder how much that's going to matter in the near future. I think especially at these lighter weight classes. I said it. I think it's going to be less of a problem to be the young guy more often than it is against like maybe
The
a heavier
heavier.
weight class where you've got that grown man strength a little bit more solidified.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, you might be making some enemies in that statement, but
who?
the small guys. You
Why?
just said that they don't have grown man strength.
I don't think it's good. I don't think it's the same when someone is younger as much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I hear little people talk a lot, and that's what y'all try to say stuff about to me or whatever it is. Like, oh, you're so strong or what? It's just So I'm just trying to understand what y'all go through being little people. Um,
Yeah. I'm sorry, I set you up for that one. They,
I'm not.
but
It's just, I mean, in genuinely, I don't know that
I feel like
that
I
may
agree with you.
not be
Yeah,
true. If it's
yeah.
not true, somebody feel free to like come back
Prove
and
you
make a
wrong.
make a
Yeah,
rhetorical,
yeah.
retort video or come on,
Remix.
let me know. I'm willing to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I like to know that because then I'll stop saying it.
Yeah. No, I I mean I feel you. I feel the sentiment too is the fact that like it's just I think where it'll change is the same thing that you see at the heavier weight classes is just the speed. It's just that the
They
speed at
don't
which
slow
because
down.
yeah you're talking about like people that they don't realize that it might be a bad idea to do a front flip right here. Like they just do it. They don't. There is no. They there.
Mhm.
It's why that we have the age restrictions on the things that we do is because we're like attempting to buffer the world a little bit for these small humans that lack the prefrontal cortex of decision making.
Mm.
Which turns out that makes you a killer fighter because you don't ever have the like, what'll happen to my neck?
Yeah, you can't think about that yet.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, I think that that factor definitely plays something. And then you're talking about the fact that there's guys that are sitting down now that are 22. They've been training for 16 years. You didn't used to meet somebody that had been training 16 years until they were at least in their 30s,
Mm.
and then all of
Or
a
they were from
sudden,
Brazil.
that too, yeah. Like if they had been if they had
That was
started
the thing. I
super
was like, that
early,
was it though. So that's why it
yeah,
was such a thing.
yeah,
Like until
yeah.
the '90s, it wasn't here, so you couldn't have been doing it that much until the early 2000s. You couldn't have been doing it for 10 years. Anybody in America, really, not Brazilian jiu-jitsu
Not
or Gracie jiu-jitsu as it was then.
not
You know,
what we know as Gracie
yeah,
Brazilian
that
Jiu Jitsu. Yeah,
this thing
yeah,
that we're doing now, which is turned from many different elements and entities into what it is, but it's essentially the base was started is started from that Gracie jiu-jitsu thing
because
in the
off
beginning.
topic, but also kind of like snaking our way through this thing is is what we're doing like is what we're competing at right now, and let's just take the top three because we don't care about gi. It's IBJJF, and that's basically it. That's in the gi.
Well, take that
Like
back.
to compete, there's nowhere else to compete in it. Like there's some of
Mm,
these other side shows and stuff like that, but nobody's really come on and like competed with IBJJF in the gi. So it's like, all right, that's off to the side over here. But our top three promotions is you have ADCC, PGF, and CJI, right?
and UFC.
And the UFC. Are any of those resemblance of what we're calling Gracie Jiu Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu anymore? Of course, it has elements. It's always going to have elements because you can't nothing's new. You can't recreate something because everything's already been done.
I think it's interesting to think about that. Like I ponder that a lot. That's something that in my time I consider that a lot when I'm studying or just writing or getting ready for lessons or having just left the PGF or some other interaction with some of these guys who are the sixth, seventh, eighth degree, black belts, the Machado's, Carlos Hegan, Hadra Machado, John Jacques, any of those guys, getting around them and getting to listen to what they're saying and how they're talking about the stuff gives it a little bit of a I don't know, a lot of confusion, at least not in a not confusion, I guess, in a negative way or whatever, but it's just like it's changed. It's changed a lot. And whether it is or isn't, it's not the same thing. It can't be the same thing. Right.
Yeah.
And gi or no gi is not really even the point necessarily. Like I
No,
think
yeah.
that's an element of it, right? But I think if you watch some of the old fights and footages, it was always, like no gi. They were fighting and
It
some
was
guys wore
a
gi in the
guy.
fight
There was a
stuff.
guy
There
with
was
a gi
some
on and a no gi, a
sometimes no
shirtless
guys.
muscle
Yeah.
guy.
Like
Yeah,
it just kinda evolved into the fact of where like if then the guy who's wearing the gi, if the other guy knows how to use it against you, he's in a disadvantage if he's not wearing one too. It's like because you
yeah.
can't grab him the same way he could grab
He
you
can
in
grab
effect
you.
fight. That friction is helpful, but it's only helpful as much as it is now. You're giving away a bunch of grips and things that
It's
would
only
give you
helpful if the other guy doesn't know what that thing is that you have
if he
on.
doesn't know how to use it at all, which is kind of silly to consider. If he knows how to grapple, he would use it in the way similar ways, but maybe not exactly the same
Right,
way.
right.
Um, so you take that away from it. I think we talked about it before too. The points being there as a way to incentivize what is good in jujitsu grappling. Taking down, passing the guard, mount the back, knee on belly, probably, which is less of a good position. People don't most people don't know anything about knee on belly. That's why they don't like it. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily like the spot that it was with the gi, to where you could like
yeah.
hold somebody and
Where you can
staple
just
them and
sit there
fold
and
them
then like
like a
do
yeah.
that bow and arrow type, loading a bow and arrow type of position.
But if you're not like shin sliding at least, or knee whatever sliding, or whatever it is across people's waist above the hips and different things like that, then you're missing a huge element of like what's going on. And so I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessarily knee on belly in the way that it was, but again, nothing is that, but it's
But
still that same
best way I like to
idea.
use that knee on belly, if we're talking about like that specific position, is when you're playing like the arm triangle and staying mounted isn't working, and you can slide up into that knee on belly while maintaining the
It's
arm
just another way to
triangle.
pin a little bit, right? And
Yeah,
you can
it
tip the
pins
hip
their
certain
hip. You can
ways.
kind of stretch them out a little bit more.
I can get you to tip one side or the other with your hips, or twist
That's
you a little bit differently.
where
And that's like it's precision if you know what you're doing.
where I picked that up from was I was talking to Kaya about the rotolotine of like how they get them to roll up. They'll use that like knee on belly to like make you like uncomfortable, and then you
Hmm.
turn, and that's that little half turn you need to get to the front of their head.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I agree,
So
and
there's that element. I think is that's what we're trying to do with some of this, right? And I think that ADCC tried to capture a little bit more of the realness with the wild takedown stuff that they allow, and
yeah,
getting after it like that, because
they're super
that's
inconsistent in
what you
that.
would see. I think when you look at some of these old fights with guys that were, just kind of getting after it. One guy would be shooting, the other guy would be fighting like hell to defend the takedowns and things like that, and get like it just looked raw like that too. Guys were just blasting into each other and like fighting, punching, and kicking, like that front kick into a takedown. Like that was the best entry because they had to kind of respect the front kick to the
Yep.
clinch. Like people don't, the body lock, the front kick body lock clinch is 101, but people don't use it because there's not much element of the fighting, the punching and kicking part in the sport right now. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I think is a major thing that's kind of missed in some of that distance management
The
stuff is
violence aspect that you have to respect.
yeah, distance management, right?
Yeah.
The ways that you kind of
Yeah.
manage your range if somebody's able to strike you or would just not care about your safety in that way,
Is different.
is one
Yeah.
thing, right? So jujitsu is very safety. We want people to be safe, and we try to keep people safe. And most people don't really want to hurt each other, and yada 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 like that too, which is not bad. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's not really what it was initiated in for back in the day.
Right.
It was to be the best fighting art for self defense and for beating any other individual kind of art, because people hadn't really thought as much about blending styles and different things. You either did what you did, or you know
Your art
it,
was your like
that was your thing,
that
right?
was
And
your
so
thing.
as a
Yeah.
thing, they proved that it was maybe the best of the more single combat focused styles or whatever, right? So I don't know, we're off in the weeds on all this stuff, but
Not really, because like
officially
this comes back around. Like, is it the same thing?
it's not, but it is. And that's what I say is like I want to circle back into what I was trying to say earlier with that is like I saw Brandon was talking to Carlos on like a live stream one day, and they were just kind of chatting about a bunch of different things, and Carlos brought up that someone was teaching something or whatever, and they had developed a flow of the moves or whatever. And he was like, at whatever point that was, they hadn't started really using flows. They
Yeah.
just had like when you get here, the guy has to do this
Right.
or you finish,
Yeah.
right? Or it's the thing like there's nothing else. It's
It's
either
the
this,
dilemma thing. Of like
they
we
do
get to
that,
the
or
dilemma.
nothing else.
Yeah.
There wasn't like
Yeah.
a flow to go between stuff, all
What
these
happens?
connections and different whatever it is like that. And like he's like, so that's the kind of stuff that I think about when I want to say it, because it's like yes, but it's advanced in like the pedagogy and the way that people like are teaching it, and the stuff has been like refined a lot more, and people have put a lot of different emphasis into different things. So it's got to be different. But I think at the root of it all, I think we're trying to get closer to it with the sprints and the matches that are going to have to be pushing the pace and getting harder, because that's what a real fight would be more like, is a shorter burst of some stuff that's going to be going
Finish.
on and you gotta get it
My
going.
only option is
Yeah,
to finish
and
you.
you gotta get it going, or not get finished, I guess, but be fighting to keep like a good spot, and you can't trust being in a bad spot and just laying there because it's not good,
I think
So
this
that
younger generation is going to be fast enough and capable enough to develop the counter fighting that this style has lacked. Is that like you'll have the guys that can counter fight, and then you'll have the guys that attack. And then those two styles will blend because this younger generation, both sides are attacking, even from a defensive aspect, and even from a offensive aspect. Like both sides, they're attacking. Sides, they're chasing. Like their submissions. Like even when they're being attacked, you see guys firing off leg locks and like everything that they can to like stay in the game. I mean, it's like Rafa, right? That guy was like. I mean, he's the type of guy that I would imagine would be in a triangle and then have somebody else in a triangle armbar, and it'd be like those types. And it's not even like the boring, like, boo, like, no, like, it's like, how are you even in that position? They're willing
yeah,
to
and I think
fight tooth
the
and nail.
pace, that's the
Yeah.
pace. There's gonna be the thing, and I think that's what separates a lot of it, I guess, too, is like I think it's more about control. At least to me, it was more about control when I first started. At least that's what
Yeah.
I thought. I was being
Yeah.
taught a lot more, and now it's more about the finish. Things are more about getting to the finish, which to me only changes it a little bit because I get the finishes from the control still. Like I
Right. I
think
was going to
there's
say,
still that
doesn't that just
element.
make both true?
Yeah,
You
but I
just
think
have to
that's
be
the
more time
difference
efficient with
between them. I
both?
think that's what you're cutting out by going to the more athletic game
Okay. I hear you.
is
I
that you
hear you.
cut
I
out
hear
that
you.
part of it. And so that's where I think we're deviating in a way that makes it meaningful enough to say that it's not the same thing, because we're taking
Yeah.
away that, like, the getting a guy down and holding him for a couple of minutes might be the move. That might be all you
That's
can do.
But then we also determined that in the evolution of the sport and the evolution of what we're trying to do is that we're trying to make something that's viewable. And we all
Entertainment,
watched matches. Yeah, we
different.
all watched matches that should have been exciting matches. But the move was to hold that big
You
gargantuan
don't want to let
giant
a guy like
down for
that get
3 minutes.
going. Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
let a guy like that get going. It's stupid. That's
So
not
like
good technique.
some of our legendary moments are literally blips in like a 45-minute
That's
match.
why it's that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it's so hard to do it.
So
It's
it's
so
not
hard to get that.
So it's not the pure version of that. And at the same time, too, we're keeping it out of the NHB days, right? Because like that's another way that you make this not a problem. It gets really, less guys sit there and lay there when you can just gouge their eye out, you know. But then
Everything.
turns out I can hold you in a triangle and do that to you too. And then we got to watch this. There's doctor's bills. TV doesn't like it. That doesn't work. Then you take it to the fact that, like, here's my hot take on this, and this is why I feel like it's different, is that when you watch the early Gracie videos, and when you talk about, like, early UFC, and even just the, like, dojo storming, when they grabbed an arm bar, for one, like you said earlier, the other guys had never even seen somebody wear a gi most of the time. They don't know what this thing is. So when they would go to grab an armbar, they didn't grab that armbar because they were going to do a swim move and put you in spider web and then hold you there and then like systematic. No, they were going to roll over, belly down, not let you make the roll, and break your arm. And they wouldn't stop breaking your arm until somebody made them stop.
Mhm.
That's the original what we're talking about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, is that I come
Well,
in and I use something against you that you don't know what it is, and I use it to its full extent. And so
mhm.
you need control to be able to go full extent, because we all know that if you don't know how to do an armbar and you just grab it and you just go full tilt, well, you just gave me a easy pass or whatever. So that's where the control comes into play, because I got to be able to go full tilt. And if I can't go full tilt without losing position, then it's a foolish move. And that's what the original idea was. And also, they were coming in, and I feel like that we're doing this the same way in the rule sets, is that they were coming in, and some of these guys didn't even really understand the rules that they were playing by. It was basically just like kicking the front door. Who's the black belt? I want to fight him.
Mhm.
That's the stories. I'm just repeating what I've seen and heard. I'm not
No, it
talking
is.
shit
There's
about anybody.
the rules were agreed like in the moment before it happened or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. What are we gonna do? We're gonna fight. Okay. What are we like? How? Do whatever you
What does
want.
that
All
mean?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And so, like, as somebody who's spent time in this game, is like, I could do that to anybody that didn't know what I was doing. Like, I can trick you into letting me beat you. I see guys do it to people all the time. I see people do it to practitioners, to other people that we get into this friendly role, and then somehow it ends up and like I trick you into letting you beat me. Letting me beat you. Sorry, I
You
messed that
tricked
up
me
in
into
my.
letting me beat you. I
And
know.
see, oof, man, did you do that?
Yep.
That was some black belt stuff.
See? I let you think you're winning, and then all of a sudden it's over, and you're like, "Wait, I didn't win.
Hold on.
How did this happen?" And it's funny. You just sounded like a class or 10, 12 that I made you sit and listen to that rant about the control to finish in space. How it's got to be there. You got to have the control to finish it, or either it's
Did I
not
just
it.
repeat one
It's
of your
not it.
lessons back to you?
Yes, you did. That's why I was smiling, nodding appropriately. It's very good. That's the thing, though. It's like it is. It's still a big element of it, but maybe it's not the element of where you're thinking about pressure in the way of stamping somebody down and not letting them move at all.
Right.
You're just pinning
Right.
them and keeping them completely immobilized until they just kind of like, all right, man, that's enough. That's enough, right? Because that's a thing. I like
That's
that.
a thing for
That's
sure.
I
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I want to do that to everybody. I want to be. That's the submission. That's my favorite submission is when they say that's enough, or they're like, I'm good. Just like they tap for nothing. At least what we would say is nothing or whatever. I love that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like there's no coming back from that. Like
No.
they can never. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's like you just gotta feed an arm or something like that to somebody, get it out of there. If it's
Yeah,
just
but what if they
moaning,
won't take it?
then you just gotta give up. That's what I'm saying.
That's
You gotta
the
fight out. Or you gotta give up.
worst.
That's what I do.
That's-
It's like you want me to take that arm because you can fight out of that. You think you can't get away from this. That's why you're
Yeah.
trying to give me a submission, is because you know that you're done here, and I don't want to let you have that.
I think
But look, the
open.
clock says 10 seconds, so I gotta jump.
Yeah. I think open mat. I think the way that we train at open mats is damaging to our like abilities and our gauges as to like how this works. Is because a tap is a reset,
Yeah, I said that.
and it's like I've found myself, especially like when I'm out here trying to keep up with the pack and like doing it now and like learning how to like play this game past 35. Is that like you'll find yourself in a scrap with somebody and you're like, man, I would submit you here because it would just end it. But all submitting you here does is make us slap and bump and do it again. It's like
I don't want to do that.
I'm just gonna ride this out in butterfly guard.
Or just get to a position that's good to keep incrementally, moving forward and making you take damage or carry weight or whatever it is. Oh, there's your iguana friend.
Yeah,
He's on the back side right there.
yeah.
Guys, allegedly this thing may jump my boy during the show. So if it happens, that's gonna be awesome. I hope he
He's
does.
just trying.
I can't wait. That's the real thing. This is gonna be the best thing ever.
I don't know where he is.
So he's on the
Now-
corner of the building over there.
Oh, he's like over there.
Yeah,
Oh, he's getting
Mhm.
sun. They hide from the birds up there.
Mm.
Watching these green screens.
I like that. That AI has gotten even more better.
Man.
So, before we go too further down any of the other roads,
Yeah.
we'll go back into the draft for just a little bit longer here.
Okay.
Which you got a team coming out of the draft that you think is going to be pretty good, and do you have any team that you think, man, I wish they would have maybe done a little bit of a different turn, maybe?
Kind of how it played out as it started, as I was able to pay attention as I put out all the fires in the back, and went back and rewatched. It kind of played out the way that I would have thought. It didn't surprise me that what happened with Jet Thompson coming out strong. And like the show start was so crazy that I kind of missed that whole draft like happening until I rewatched it, and I was like, oh yeah. They like immediately were like, we want him.
Yeah, and it went 7,700.
Yeah, 77. That's the highest paid
Seven
in
thousand seven
so
hundred, the
far.
most in the season so far. Yep,
So
five
far,
hundred
yeah, yeah.
$13 per match
Which
over
I
the
mean,
course. With that's not including the potential bonuses and different things that
right,
they get day to day. That
right.
there's going to be uh money bags being thrown during matches for things. There's going to be four
Yeah,
different people who have the owners of the PGF are going to have money bags they're going to throw out. That I think it's like $500 each per, and for whatever
per
they
bag, I
like, if
believe.
it's whether a transition or they like your guard passing or they like your
Yeah,
promo. Zoe's a good judo player. He loves judo, so
like
maybe
a
you
big
throw somebody or
throw.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you throw, so
you
that's
might
five
see a
hundred
money
bucks.
bag get thrown
Yeah,
out. Yeah,
exactly. That's you cut a good promo. Maybe I go over there and hit them up and say, hey, let me hold something. I give it to you
yeah,
because you got a good promo. Because we like that. That's an important part of the game too.
yeah.
So being a dynamic player and a good thing like that is going to even allow some of these guys more opportunity to make money throughout the next
Hmm.
several weeks and stuff. Um, I think on paper here because I got it on paper. Um,
Ooh, I'm proud of you.
I like the New Hope Kings because they have, for me, three of the guys that I really probably would have liked to have had on my team if I could have picked them. Like in a setting like it's like, man, if I was a coach when I did my like mock draft thing when for myself, I was like, if I ended up with Jet Thompson, Anthony Molina Valdez, and Juan Martinez, I I thought I'd be a real good player as a leading contender team for the season, and they got them, and they got Gojani and Dom Lobo. And so Dom was somebody I also thought would be a good player for the season.
Yeah,
I'm not sure exactly where he would stack amongst the top of the heap guys, but to get him as your like fifth guy,
yeah.
that that
That's
really
a
I
deep
felt like that
bench.
made them. I felt
Yeah,
like that made them really really good. Having that because Anthony and Juan have a ton of experience in the
yeah,
rule set. They
yeah,
both done a previous season in Alabama, and then so Jet he's got experience also obviously being in the season prior. So they got three pretty you know good veteran I would say PGF
yeah,
guys
yeah,
um, that are young also. I think that the oldest is still 20 something of those guys. There's nobody that's like too old in the season, actually, really. But to me, I think that they're the front runners going into the season on paper. I think Canuto's team also has a pretty strong chance, depending on who shows up when for them. If those guys all play to their level, they're
yeah.
going to be pretty rough and tough as well. I mean, all
And
the teams are pretty good. But I think those are my two teams that I was like, I like. I think I like the way that that's set up a little bit more overall. But some of these other guys may overplay.
refresh me
It.
on what Andy's team looked like. What are their guys?
Uh, Brady Branscombe, Mike John, Armin Bruni, Landon Elmore, and Christos Papadelos.
That's
So
so
they're good.
my two were New Hope and Andy.
Okay,
Were my two because like that's with Dom. I think Dom and love you, Dom. I was down there when you hit your viral clip. Like I think that you've done like super cool. I've seen him a couple of times at different things, and like he's got like really dangerous jujitsu, especially when we start talking about like playing in his guard. I think what happened to him getting walked was the best thing that could have happened to him. Is
okay,
that because like watching him come through the interviews and come through is like you said earlier is that he's kind of young. He's not really been on like the big scene for a whole lot, but every time he does get to a big scene like EBI Subversive, every time he gets to one of those, he does something crazy.
I like. He likes the
Yeah,
lights.
yeah, and so it's like all right, I think that that gave him the chip on his shoulder, and then he got shuffled over to a good, healthy team like New Hope that's going to have a lot. You got Travis Thomas over there as the,
GM.
yeah, and that is that what we're calling them GMs. I was trying to
Yeah,
remember the
he
really cool
called him that the other
reference.
day. That's what we're saying.
Okay, I
It,
was trying
you
to
know,
think of the cool Goodfellas reference that Raph made, and now I'm embarrassing myself and can't remember what they called the
don't try to
Don
be like Rap.
Gotti's. Is that right?
What?
Anyways, never mind. I'm gonna mess up and say the wrong thing. Uh,
You already did.
I tried to recover. See, this is what I mean. I zigged, you zagged, and now we're caught behind the curtain going, yeah.
I was just confused. I didn't
Me
go
too.
anywhere. I sat here and took it.
But I think that was the best thing that could happen for Dom. Like I think that like that going
Okay.
there.
I think that's a
And
good
then
take
on
too because
Andy's team,
you're
I
right.
think Andy's team has the same advantage that you just talked about. Because I agree with you on New Hope. Is that New Hope has the veterans, they have the people that have played it, but so does Andy's team. Just different veterans, different weight classes, different games, different styles. But I think that both of them have the advantage of having a fair number of people that have seen the game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Mike John redemption art, I guess,
I
as
am too.
well. Considering that thing
Good
kind
to
of
see him
similar
out
to
of a body cast.
what you said about Dom, similarly to Mike, he came out to that season. What was it, 6? Definitely
6.
undersized and didn't perform a way that he would be proud of for himself. So seeing him
Yeah.
get this opportunity again, I know that he's just like foaming at the mouth basically to get out there and wipe that off his like record in a way, to get
Conscience.
yeah, just that's what says it just for himself, right? Wipe it off his like record to get that to prove to himself again is like, man, I am that dude.
Yeah.
I should just walk over some of
Because
these people,
all
he
things said
can.
is like everybody remembers Mike John from the Andy being like Mike John's over here in a body cast, but like those were just a couple moments. He did okay. Like he was hanging on there and he was giving some pretty good scraps to guys. Like you said, he was severely outsized. So like I'm excited to watch the homie run it again. Like he's always fun to watch. It's always entertaining. He's going to be
Different.
on a team that's like encouraging that, and it's in a bracket that's going to be super dynamic and fun. Like there's not one style I feel like that I've seen that I'm gonna be bored with. I'm interested to see how CJ does.
Murdoch.
Yeah, CJ Murdoch, because he's been around for a long time. Like he's played in
Mhm.
a lot of different rule sets against a lot of different types. So like I'm interested to see how he approaches the
See, he's the one
game.
who lost the decision to Rafael at that qualifier. He came up to me later and was like, "Yeah, he didn't beat me. They gave him a
A
pass as a
decision.
choice in the thing because that's just how the qualifiers go.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh, that's a good little tidbit I didn't know for sure. Like I didn't realize that. I forgot. I guess through the process that was a decision kind of win that moved him through.
Which Rafa would get that kind of a decision because he's more dynamic and
Exactly.
he's more
Yeah,
like
he put
entertaining and
on so
moving.
many really good matches.
Yeah. That's somebody who I did like on CJ doing research and going through is that like I saw him in a lot of situations where like his jiu-jitsu looked really good. He was just in rule sets where you would lose for some stupid reason as far as like, oh, you set guard during this time and so now like winning and losing that way. And that's why like it's super cool the way that Egghead's been doing these stats is that like he's actually doing the like film work, and so he's not just throwing numbers at you that are like, oh well, they won this many times and they did this many times. Well, how did they win? That
Yeah,
matters.
yeah. And I think the XP thing is good. It's something that's really cool.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
super.
I want to see keep being developed a little bit and more people being able to tap into it somehow with stats and getting it going from maybe potentially even other organizations. I don't know how to weigh it appropriately. Maybe if a guy's doing an ADCC or something and wants to, like if they
Yeah,
like
that's
if we
becomes
competed against
math.
each other in each
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
how does that?
yeah,
Because that does matter, right? If you have an organization, maybe specific ranking, that's okay.
yeah.
But everybody kind of wants to always know who's the cross promotion champion of everything, right? Like in boxing, if you have WBA, WBO, whatever, they want
But
the
but see, I see the more financially like lucrative thing for all of us to do is to copy racing and do like where you have like how like the car racing or even the horse racing that they do is like the Triple Crown. It's like it matters like that you do these events and you do this one, and if you win this one then you go to this one, and if you win this one, well then you won this one, and then now you won that one, and now you're the Triple Crown because you've won all the ones.
what are the ones though?
Right.
That's
I mean,
that.
I feel like that's what
You
we.
named the four in the beginning, but like that's fluid, right? I think right now it's kind of there's a lot up in the air about what's going to
Who
happen
else is even close
whatever in that way.
to
No, no,
to
no.
to, to
I'm
put
not
a
saying
new segment on the
that
end?
would
Is
be a
like,
quadruple crown or whatever if we trying to win all four or whatever. And
well,
we
you
get
can't win all four because you got to be in exclusive contract with one of them to
win
segue
three
into the
first,
next
right?
segment.
You could have won three of them first somehow. Nobody has
Uh,
yet, but
you could do that, yeah. You could win all three, then get a contract. But yeah,
just tack it. I think, right? No, he didn't win.
he never competed in the PGF.
He didn't figure out, though, either.
Did he not?
When it was
Or he
all.
didn't win. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
he did
I got you.
amazing. He was in the
Yeah,
heavyweight, right?
I don't remember.
I think he was in the big. That's what it was. He beat Victor Hugo, I believe. In a
Okay.
really exciting match, and then
Yeah.
lost. I think in the second round to somebody, if I remember correct. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Maybe he lost to Rotolo in that really exciting match. Something
Yeah.
happened. I look back up now. I don't remember, but he definitely showed out performance wise at CJI. But I don't believe that he won because it was Nicky Rod and Rotolo that
No,
won.
I know he didn't win. I just didn't remember how he lost.
Right, but he could have. He could win that. He could win the PGF. He could
Yeah,
win.
he could go back. He could go
He's
back and
that
do all
good.
that.
You know, and,
Yeah.
and so that's an interesting concept. But I think there's a way to rate some of these things out and flesh it out some too. So I'm really excited to get going into the PGF 2025 season. You know, I think another thing I'm pushing for is to stop dropping roll. You know, when you're on fire. I thought that would be more useful information for everybody at this point in our lives, but maybe not. Um, I don't even know how to say it now.
That was.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, are we
that was
talking
the
about
ADHD
if
I
I'm
was
on
thinking.
fire?
Yeah, the PGF's on fire, right?
Okay,
Everything is.
okay. I follow the line. Like you lost me on the ADD
I lost
train there for a
myself.
second.
Yeah, I lost myself. You know,
Well,
just going. I don't know where I'm going either.
July 23rd,
Yes.
PGF season 8 starts.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Is like, yes, I want to like drop the season 8 or whatever kind of moniker of it all or whatever and start looking at like with the 2025 season because this is the
Okay.
only one that we're going to do this year. And the 2026 season there'll be like the lightweight season or the whatever season of the year, but there won't be multiple 170 seasons each year. So I think the need to go season 8, 9, 689 or whatever.
Is this
Starting to go
information that you've gotten?
Oh, I made
in
it up.
A group chat. Okay.
I'm just doing
Okay.
it. That's what I said. I'm
Okay.
just telling you guys this is what I'm doing. So get on board. If you're not on board with that, then it's up to you. Like this is season 8 for sure. Like and it's
Okay.
going to be called season 8. A lot of things. The belt says season 8.
All of my
Everything.
files already say season 8, so I'm saying
No, and so
season
that's
8.
this is not officially coming down from anybody official.
Other than Steven.
It's just what I'm gonna say, unless they tell me to say something else. But I've been saying, and I'm going to continue to say the 2025 PGF season or the PGF 2025 season, which is season 8. But I think I just like the way that sounds better personally.
Okay, the 2025 season.
Yeah.
Of PGF World.
Yeah, because it is.
Okay. We're
And
here
it's longer
for it.
than the week too, right? So that's the thing is like I feel like if it was still the one condensed week, we could do 8, 9, 10 or whatever it was because it
Right.
was like a different thing. It's like watching a Netflix show.
It's July 23rd through September 10th.
Whatever that is. And it's going to be every Wednesday night. In between then, we're going to be flying into a undisclosed location in Las Vegas to do the thing again every week. And this show will be there live from the location pretty much every Wednesday at a to be determined time.
Yes.
At this point, because I got to figure out exactly what the rotation on flying in and out needs to be like.
We could do an episode from the airplane. You think they let us use the Delta Wi-Fi?
We could at least record from the plane.
I like that you just rolled with the fact that you think that we're going to be flying in Delta together.
I mean, I'm not going to, but I just was going to keep it, kayfabe.
That's the part I want to show the people.
Yeah. I'll do it. I'll do it on Frontier. I don't care. They don't have
We'll
Wi-Fi
do it.
though. That's why I said we could do it without
The big
Wi-Fi.
wide seat. We'll do a live to tape on Spirit Airlines big wide seat. I've been reading about that.
What is that?
Apparently, they have a seat up front that's like a lazy boy, but it doesn't lay back, but it's like wider,
How much it
and you can
costs?
pay. I don't know. It's got to be. It's got to be more than the stand up seats.
So on Frontier, you can get in the front 2 rows, and they'll block out that middle seat, and you get a
Oh,
little extra leg room in there too. So it's a little
so
upcharge depending
you
on.
can buy out that middle seat.
Yeah, they don't. They just said nobody sits there. So if you have the 2 seats right there, then you can have the middle seat between you and the homie or the wife or whatever, and you
Oh,
get some space. Or y'all can sit beside each other and then have the other one open if you want it that way or what.
if you're trying to
But
snuggle up on the
yeah,
bench.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
respect, of course.
so you'll be joining the Wandering Army, and so like back to the very beginning of the show, as far as like we're all wandering grapplers.
Yeah, I have nomadic chasing the food supply.
July 23rd, starting
On the
out.
twenty
I
third,
think it says 4 p.m. Pacific time. I think that's like 6 p.m. on the other side, something like that.
3 hours. If it's 4 Pacific, it's 7 Eastern.
Okay, I've seen a couple different posters. Oh, that's where I saw 6, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Boom! Look at me paying
Oh, they care
attention to
about
group
Central
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, Central time happens.
Just put it on the like you need the East and West Coast. Everybody else figure it out. Know where you are. Right. It's your fault you're out there in the middle of nowhere where the lines just kinda get messed up.
So, do you have any closing thoughts and anything that you want the people to know about?
Closing thoughts, man. A lot of stuff's going on. The sport's blowing up in lots of different directions. Things are going really great for us in that way, you know. I'm just excited to be a part of all these things and to be able ooh, to be able to voice the PGF and CJI
The
when I had that
movement.
opportunity and other thing the draft, getting a lot of feedback from different people about that was it feels good, to be appreciated in that way for your work or whatever
You had
stuff
a
too. So
golden mic.
I I did and do. It's mine. I'm gonna make that part of my compensation
You
package is that I get to take it home and
you
have
get to have the golden mic sitting on your
mm,
mantle at home. You don't have any of the receivers, anything. You just want the mic.
yeah. I mean that's what does the work, right? It's all the mic.
Yeah,
Um, but it was different though. It's a different mic than one I've been having, so I need to
had
play
to
with it more too
adjust.
to get used to because I got used to those other ones, whatever the style those were. I
Yeah,
kind of figured out my distance management on that.
where you have to
Uh,
move and
yeah,
get
but with this one,
your hand.
it felt different, and maybe that was just the room. Also, could have played that differently. Maybe
Yeah,
saying the setup made it sound different.
yeah.
But yeah, so the man with the golden mic on the road, got the Savannah Bananas youth tournament next week. Gonna go take a part of that. Volunteered to coach that.
All
Thomas is
right.
gonna be playing and stuff, so we're gonna be learning some dances and some trick plays and just trying to have a good time.
Pay
Playing.
attention to the social media stuff.
I mean, and paying attention to everything. It's a time to go learn and have some fun together with the family and the
That's cool.
kids. And the thing is, like, yeah, it's always a good opportunity to learn. Every time I go do almost anything, I take in what I can from the things, and not necessarily to judge it or whatever, but just like as oh, I like that. Maybe we can implement things like that into whatever it is that it would affiliate with. So I think that's the best part about a lot of this is that I want to figure out that like mentality that they use a lot, the model and how you frame a lot of that messaging like in person day to day and stuff like that too is great because you see a lot of
Yeah,
if you look into it you see a lot of stuff. There's a ton of stuff out there informationally about what they're doing and how they're doing it and different
yeah,
things, but it's fun. People are really enjoying it. It started a whole movement in some ways, and I don't know. I like it, and I think that it will help if we can figure out some of those elements into our flows or
community.
whatever to
Yeah,
the entertainment
yeah.
value up one way or the other. Not saying we'll be doing a bunch of dances and things like that during the PGF, but
No, but prioritizing where you put the entertainment and where it like feeds into both the live and the like at home audience. Like they
It's
kind
telling a
of
story.
like,
It's
yeah,
like
tell a
trying to get
story.
people,
Yeah,
yeah, to get the
yeah,
fans involved and get them invested in it, to want to be part of the thing, to let them know they are a huge part of the thing. There's a lot
right.
of things sometimes we get disconnected from that, and people don't put the fans first and their experience uh, as high as they could, and but that's what's the most important if you're trying to have a product that does make money and you can support a lot of people off
Well,
of
it's
it.
entertainment.
It's got to make
If
money,
if
and
you're
they
trying
got
to make
to see it.
entertainment, entertainment should be
People got to want
entertaining.
to see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
your entertainment's not entertaining. It's not going to last long.
What are we? Yeah.
Right.
What are we
So
doing? If we're trying to watch something to be entertained and we're not entertained, then what's the point in watching it?
exactly. And so with that, we'll catch you guys not next week,
I got
maybe
one
live
more
because I
plug.
will be there. Okay, but I'll be there next week, so I probably won't be live, but I'll be sending you guys stuff from there. So maybe we'll do something.
We'll do something from there.
Okay.
And the last plug is we now are working with the Daily Triangle. And if you are like trying to set up seminars, if you have any of your programs that you're trying to use aren't up to the standards that you need them for your gym to like manage the back end of your membership management, all that type stuff, they offer a whole slew of services when it comes down to it. And so if you're putting on an event, a jiu-jitsu event, a seminar, anything like that, you can go over there, tell them that we sent you, and
Don't
you'll
forget to
be
like and
helping.
subscribe.
And like and
Probably
subscribe
eat you
to
up. If I see you
anywhere
and you
you
haven't
see
liked
this
and subscribed, I'm gonna fight you.
on site.
I'm gonna just walk up to people and be like, "Are you subscribed?" And if they're not, it's on.
You heard it here.
I said what I said.